Hi, this is Max Watersman, the host of Writers 2, and today we're talking with Henryk Kowalczyk. So I began this channel as an interview format for writers on Medium who cover, well, let's say, controversial subjects. For various reasons, I haven't been able to get it to critical mass, but then Henryk came up with a great idea that I should use a polemical format, where one person takes a hard position and argues it with another. And they both understand that each one is going to be very hard in their positions, and they try and stay polite. But by keeping very hard positions, they can really dig into the issue. So there are some very good interviews on channels on YouTube, but few that really use this approach as their main thing. So, Henryk, I'm hoping you can explain this idea in greater detail.
Well, my idea is not mine. It's probably as old as humanity, but it is correct that we don't have much conversation in the United States in politics. And I'm a little bit obsessive about creating debates, and it comes a little bit from my background. I'm from Poland and I came to the United States when I was already in my 30s. And Polish political traditions, democratic traditions, reach medieval times, and the political debates in our blood. And it just happened that when I was growing up, despite that at that time Poland was under Soviet domination, I was fortunate to be included in as that time as an intern in one of the most influential and most prominent media ventures at early 1970s. This was the insert to the major Warsaw newspaper. Every Thursday they had 4 columns, and they at that time tried to avoid, because there was no way, because of the censorship and political system, there was no way to have open political debate like we can have here in the United States. But what they tried to do, they tried to say, let us be unpolitical, but making cars or raising pigs, it is not a political issue. Simply it is the matter of certain status of technology and science at a given moment, and let us find out how to do it, and let's talk about those technicalities. So they were not lecturing readers. In their articles, what they tried to do, they identified some problems, things which people were concerned or sense that something was not right. And then when they identified the issue, they published a series of articles presenting different aspects and opposing views. And as they tried to stay away from politics, they focused on it, what works, what doesn't work, what science is, what's the experience, this and those people. And they also were very famous for, they were proud of it, let's say, because I was the mentor of the team at a certain point, and I stayed with them for more than a year. That they brought outside authors. They also lured some experts who were in the part of government or some important business or science, who knew how, let's say, sausage was made, but didn't want to put their name up front. So they published them under the nicknames, but those articles were hot, of course. And the other aspect of what they were doing, they tried to be in touch with readers. So they value very much the readers. At that time there was of course no email. They read a traditional letter, mostly handwritten, but they published them and they wrote articles responding to those letters. So readers felt that they were a part of the conversation. And then, let's say they have every week that one edition, so if they run some subject, every week there was something related to that subject under some small headline. We continue that debate, we did this and that before, we had such arguments, and then please look at the next 2 articles which we have today. And they, in their approach, they told the readers, we do research for you. We know you have no time and resources to find out what is going on, so we bring that information to you so you can make your own mind. And there was very positive response from readers. Readers respected that. They felt that they were a part of the conversation, that their voice mattered. So that publication soon gained unprecedented popularity nationwide. So after about 3 years, the government fired the leadership of the team, and I had no place over there either. But I'm bringing that because that experience in different environment, I think, is very similar and can be used in the situation in the United States which you have now. Formally, we have unlimited freedom of expression. But for whatever the reason, we have so polarized media and politics that there are no conversations. We have no genuine debates about our problems. Let's say immigration, healthcare, climate change, federal deficit, war in Ukraine, the Middle East, you name it. In all those instances, media and politicians say, I stand for this or that ideological agenda, I am a liberal, progressive, or whatever. And because of that, I believe that we need to do this and that.
Yeah, I mean, since we last talked, a couple of interesting things have happened where I think it's, supports what you're talking about. There's a writer on Medium called Catherine Valentino, and she basically said, you shouldn't vote for Trump, and I'll debate you on it. If you're a Trump supporter, let's talk. So she wanted to have a polemical argument, and although I'm not a Trump supporter, I told her that, well, I'm not going to vote for Biden. So my wife says I'm a Trump supporter. Does that count? So for her, it was okay. So we had a really great back and forth discussing the issues. And then the same thing with Rob Van Way just recently. He's basically saying the same thing. You can't vote for Trump. And I pushed back. Again, we had a polemical argument. So I definitely feel that there's an interest in doing that.
Well, I agree with you, because I once in one of my articles mentioned that we have no media outlet which looks for the truth, and one of the authors on Medium said to me, well, go over there, and they have some humble not-for-profit website where you can create certain, express certain position, and they will do something like the conventional debate in the court, and then they will, try to judge it. And I can tell you, because I was personally interested in creating some kind of social media venture of that kind, so I studied it around. So I can tell you that I'm aware at least of several similar attempts that people, like that lady which you mentioned, I didn't pick up the name, people want to get involved in the debate, but this is somewhere far on the fringes, and there is no influential media outlet which has certain audience and influence following that. Nobody from that crowd is interested. And so what I'm saying, that if we can take advantage of Medium and do it on Medium, this can give us advantage that Medium already has certain potential. And what you had, that lady asked you and you had exchange with that lady. I had almost every other day I have some interesting exchange with some other writers or readers. But those are not the mainstream. I have a conversation with someone in private, and then after that, we agree or disagree on something, and next week, next month, I have the other conversation which is almost identical with somebody else, and after a while I'm frustrated because I individually cannot convince everyone who in some aspect disagree with me. So what I'm trying to say, that the only way to make certain difference is by creating the platform that has certain momentum, and creating new media outlets might be big expense and not so easy to do. But like that experience which I'm referring to, those people, the small team, or there were just 5 people in the core team, they negotiated with the major Warsaw newspaper that every Thursday the newspaper gave them 4 columns to form the conversational platform. And what I'm trying to say, I don't think I can convince New York Times, Wall Street Journal for something like that. But Medium, because of its format, can be perfect to do that.
Yeah, as we talked about before, I think part of the problem is that, so in the Biden-Trump issue, Catherine was arguing for Biden in a sense, and even though I disagreed with her, I didn't really. I mean, I don't like Trump, so I'm not like a perfect foil or a person to take the other side. And it's the same thing with Rob. I disagree with. We don't really disagree. I think I just believe that I'm not going to vote for Biden because of accountability, but he believes he should vote for Biden because of it's just a better alternative. And there's no real answer to that question, right? I mean, but that's a question. But it was good when we were going back and forth. I could really start to see where we differed, because I think in general we saw everything the same, but we still. So why was I not going to vote for Biden, but he was? I think it came down to that. So I think yes, I think it's I just don't know, I guess, how to get it going. But I think you just said something that sort of makes sense, that maybe the thing to do is, instead for me to try and reach out to writers and say, hey, come debate somebody, find somebody, I just pick a topic every week and say, okay, the topic today is Biden versus Trump. Who wants to take a side? Come on, we'll have up to 4 people if you want. And just debate it. Does that make sense to you?
It makes, but your example, I would say, is, it would require slightly more mature audience than the American audience, because the issue doesn't touch something which is easily measurable.
Yeah.
So otherwise, for me it is obvious that Biden reached certain age, and I'm also not young. And in my life, I had periods that I was working like crazy, 60, 70 hours a day. I ran businesses. I was in charge of businesses. So about 16 years, I just thought today about it when the Biden issue. For about 16 years of my life, in different periods, I was in charge of the business, or in charge of my or somebody else's business. So I was basically CEO from troubled company. So it was unbelievable emotional and physical effort to run it, because they wake you in the middle of the night and you have to take a car and go because there's a situation. So today I'm still active, and I want to be active because but I don't feel that I can come to someone and say, listen, I can be right now as much potent and as much available as I was 20 years ago. And the job of president is very demanding.
Yes.
Okay, and it's very stressful. And simply, we have to accept that at certain age, we are not as able to handle that. It is the job for someone in the 50s, 60s the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you that it's not. We don't want to go down this rabbit hole, and you're right in that just a debate Biden versus Trump is too general. So you'd have to be very specific, like age, like when is too old to be president, like just that. Have two people debate that very specific issue.
But let me say this way: I had some work which requires me to, maybe right now less, but at the time, required me to spend some time in the nursing homes, senior living. And I remember there were quite few moments that they asked me, do you live here or you came to work? Because certain people at the 60s, unfortunately, they end up, or sometimes even earlier, they end up in the nursing homes or senior living because they are not capable to function. This is biology. I am more blessed. I feel almost as strong and as potent as I was 50 years ago. I know that is probably a little bit, my wife is telling me that, I'm a little bit too optimistic. But the point is that we have to realize it's hard to say that you cannot work, have this or that job when you are passing certain age, but simply in case of President Biden, we see that his health is declining,
yeah.
Okay, and he has difficulties to deal with it. So let him relax, handle the term to the end, and leave the field for someone who is probably 20 or 30 years younger. And this is the sad.
Yes, you are young because you just want to get into it right now. You just so. Well, let's segue from this. But I think we made the point.
But what I tried to say that this kind of problem is a little bit hard to debate on hard facts and logic and get to certain conclusions which might be more measurable, and we in other conversation we mentioned issues like, for example, right, immigration, and this is my subject which I believe in America today matured to serious conversation. We have a unresolved problem for as long as the oldest people remember. We have problem with illegal immigration. So the question is, where is the problem? Would it be time to ask if our migration policy caused the problem, or ask what would be the ideal immigration policy?
Yeah, yeah.
And what? Yeah, I mean the simple thing. I mean this is like this is similar like you do in business. When the business people face important decision, they draft the decision table. They on the column put the available options, so you have to outline them, okay? And then the next column they say, well, this is the things which might likely happen or not happen. That risk, that other risk, that benefit, other benefit, and then you kind of try to see, and after that you can balance. Okay. Did you see any politician or media outlet doing something, that kind of discussion in the formal, in the systematic manner by the politician or major media outlet? Because I did.
As we discussed before, I mean, it's the politicians have taken the immigration issue and they've simplified it beyond any relation to the real world. So you can't actually have a real conversation about it. So I think
the point is that in the current media, the way the establishment, media and politicians, media I'm talking those
right,
major media outlets, the way discussed that, it is useless. they avoid, like I mentioned, they avoid very basic questions. Okay, so you as a citizen, you don't have a full picture. Okay, for example, there's one thing. We had a pretty well functioning immigration policy before 1917. I mean, this is so far ago, nobody remembered that. Okay? Yeah, we cannot remember that. But what I'm trying so the problems with at that time were defined, were based on eugenics. Basically, the Americans were told that some of those immigrants which are coming out of war stuck, and we have to do something about it. So it is just about time to look again what are the concepts of our immigration policy. It is a question of looking if anybody else is doing that better.
Yeah, I think we don't want to get too much in the weeds of the immigration stuff, but so that project that you said you're working on behind you, is that on immigration or something else?
No, the work behind me is the other thing which bothers me. There is, like I said, I came here basically because I was kicked out from Poland after the martial law. I had some, problems, and simply everybody told me, Henry, get out, because the longer you stay, the more troubles you will get. So I took an opportunity. I came to States, and I was fortunate, to be able to legalize it. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons of legalizing was I published the book, which I couldn't publish in Poland.
What's the book? Can you show me the book?
Yeah, there is the book. The book is "Could It Be Better in Poland?" and I wrote it in. I wrote it in 1980, basically analyzing the crisis in Poland at the time. And there was a long story with that book, but by the end of the day, I got the review of the book by the personal counselor or advisor to General Jaruzelski, the guy who was ruling Poland. It just happened. I met him before during my writing. He was working for the same newspaper when I was mentioning before. And when my book had difficulties, so he wrote the review, which was, about, my book is about 180 pages, his review was about 30 pages. And I got pissed off, so I wrote the response to it. And he got pissed off when he got it. So, but long story short, I published that in States, and then it was easy for me to legalize my staying. But later, when the Berlin Wall finally fell, I was joking that, because at that time I had a business in Chicago, and I started observing that the regulations which were affecting my petty service business, and starting from the city of Chicago, Illinois, and then federal, they were more cumbersome in some places than those which I had in similar business in Poland, because I couldn't get the job. I had to have my own business to survive for the last few years before leaving Poland. And so I was joking that after the Berlin Wall fell, that America won the war with socialism on the front line, but in the meantime socialism sneaked into America through the kitchen door. So the problem is, which I write a lot about it, is how the socialism affects American politics. So once somebody gave me that book asking to write a review. I put it on the side for a while. Then once I was on the event with Senator Paul, and we were given for the entry fee that book, and I told Senator Paul that I might write the review, and he just looked at me a little bit kind of strange when he was signing me the book. He signed the book, it's right here. He signed the book for me, and I didn't tell him that I got an idea of writing the review of two books, his in the Bernie Sanders, but then when Bernie Sanders wrote that book, I found it a little bit interesting. So like you see, I read those books and I made tons of notes, and I read the review of all three books, basically saying that one more time, those two senators, they have extreme different approach to certain things, but they don't talk to each other. Each of them present his agenda, but none of them, they talk to each other. And so I just pointed out, I wrote the article about it, will be on Medium in the next few days.
Okay, well, I'll put a link in the video here.
Yeah, so the duel of senators, and so what this is one other example how ideological influences from different point of view affect our thinking. And okay, I know that book I bought on Kindles I cannot show. The book which I think when it comes to discussing problems in America, which we should look for Alexis de Tocqueville about democracy in America. Because in that book, written in 1833, Alexis de Tocqueville shows us what, comparing to European perspective, what is different in America. And at that time, Europe was looking at America as a big mess, and they said that it will not last. That kind of chaos which they have goes nowhere. And this was perception of Europe. Alexis de Tocqueville was a smart French guy, young guy about in the early 30s at the time, and he wrote the book where he explained that this what is going in America is a big thing, because he saw in that chaos people running around and getting rich, doing things their way without any controlling forces, the freedom. And people sometimes say that he idealized America and so on. I would say he picked up what was the most important, and he described what made America great and rich. And if we want to talk about America today, we have to first say that America which Alexis de Tocqueville described is not more. I mean, in the sense that we should not try to repeat it or continue that we have better ideas.
Right.
And I believe we don't.
Yeah, no, I would like to go back to more of a debate. I mean, do the polemical thing that you're talking about. So we're almost at half an hour. I think, we don't want viewers to look at the video and say, oh, it's an hour, I'm not going to watch it. So I think we should just stop right here, because I think we've covered all the major points.
If I may, maybe, yeah, we covered that. What I'm trying to say that I would like to add with some small message why we should promote or encourage medium leadership to use that kind of format which I experienced back 50 years back in Poland in creating debate on issues like immigration, climate change, the war in Ukraine, or the war between Jews and Palestinians. Because I believe that similarly like that newspaper, Medium right now have the audience. They have the writers. So they don't need to spend a penny. They just need to say that we are interested in creating and promoting those debates. So let's say you want to debate whether Trump or Biden should drop from the race. Let's create the small headlines, but then the only thing which we ask Medium, that they will inform in those daily mailings that that kind of debate is going on, and they encourage people to participate. We can discuss the issue about immigration and bring things which the mainstream media will not discuss. We can be very ambitious, and we can say, can we ask the audience, is it possible to find a formula that will end once forever the war between Jews and Palestinians or Arab world in general? And like I mentioned in some of our other conversations, that if we debate it and we arrive with certain conclusions, we can change the way the world functions, because we eliminate the problem, and the Medium can get the Nobel Peace.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but we've both spoken to Medium's management, and it's just not the direction they're going. And I think it's just a long conversation to go into that. But I think, if the Writers 2 channel does well, or, we can get some good polemical arguments, I can see them going in that direction, but I don't think you can talk them into it. I think they would have to see it working, and then maybe they'd apply it more. Because, as you know, Medium Day is coming up. Last year, I gave my criticisms, you gave your criticisms. They didn't, as far as I'm concerned, address any of them. So, I mean, they're just going to do the same thing this year, but...
Well, yeah, what only we can say that we asked.
Oh, we did ask.
And the worst they can do, they say, thank you, we are not interested.
Yeah, and they haven't said no, to me, at least to me, at any rate. So they have been, I feel, polite. I mean, they do have the conversations. I mean, Tony Stubblebine doesn't have to answer any of these comments. So I feel, let's just try in Writers 2, see if we can get something going, even though I'm the worst person, you're the worst person. I mean, but we're all that's there for now, so I guess, let's just see if we can get it going.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so thanks, Henryk, for explaining your idea and discussing this, and hopefully the next video will be a polemical conversation.
Yeah, like I said, there's writing format is very good because you can explain your point in broad form that people can study and think about it and respond. But to get some juice to it, it would be nice that after we have some exchange of articles, we can meet in front of the camera, and you can have, let's say, one strongly minded person on a given issue, and on your left, and the other person on your right, and then it will be fun.
Yeah, I agree. So hopefully we'll get there.
So we are heading in the right direction.
Thank you, Henryk. Talk to you later.
Bye.